Hey folks, and welcome back. Boy oh boy am I glad to see you guys again. It has been far too long. So we're now into Season 3, and we are kicking off with Proving Grounds. Now there aren't a lot of videos around YouTube at the moment with regards to Prot Paladin tanking and the Proving Grounds. And that's mainly because the Proving Grounds for Prot Pallies is probably the hardest class to use to get the Proven Defender title and the 30 wave achievement. The other 10 classes like DKs, Monks, Warriors, Druids, all for various reasons have it a lot easier than Paladins. DKs have their massive absorbs and self-heals. Monks have also heals, stuns, massive mobility. Warriors have pretty good mobility and the ability to completely block all damage completely. Druids of course just dodge a lot of damage, and they can therefore actually avoid a lot of the damage coming in the various waves. However, for us as tanks that are designed pretty much to mitigate large spike damage, the damage envelope in Proving Grounds is somewhat our antithesis, if you like, our arch enemy. The constant intake of damage for us isn't really great. We need to do a lot of stuff that we normally probably wouldn't do in order to get through it. As we go through the waves later on in this video, I'll show you exactly what that means. But to start off with, I'll go through the talents and the gearing strategy that I used for Proving Grounds. So as you can see here, there is a fair difference between what I would normally tank with and the gear set I used for the Proving Grounds. Now, the mobs in Proving Grounds are all level 92 at most. So as far as your hit and expertise caps go, you can lose a bit of hit and expertise and still be guaranteed to hit and not miss all the mobs in the Proving Grounds. So I rolled with about 12% expertise and just under 6% in hit. So 6% hit and 12% expertise is all you need for Proving Grounds. Beyond that, it's a waste. You can use that itemization otherwise. So the way the gear works in Proving Grounds is pretty much similar to challenge modes. Everything gets scaled down to item level 463, and it all gets scaled down exactly the same way. So take for example LFR version of Soul Barrier, the health trinket from Lei Shen. It will scale down to exactly the same stats as the heroic Thunderforged version of the same trinket. They will both give exactly 1270 stamina. And the absorb effect that it gives will scale exactly the same way. Similarly, my health trinkets, Vial of Living Corruption and Rook's Unlucky Talisman, they both scale exactly down to 1270 stamina as well. The only things really that don't scale down are gems. Gems will stay at their full potency, as will enchants. All your gear, however, will get scaled down. Things that don't work in the Proving Grounds are the legendary meta gems proc, so the 20% damage reduction it procs with, it does not work. However, the health bonus from the actual meta gem itself, it still does work. The legendary cape, it still works as far as stats is concerned, but where the proc is concerned, it's a no. The legendary proc will not save you at all in the Proving Grounds. It just doesn't work. It doesn't proc at all. So basically what you're looking for is to either gear one of two ways. One of two ways is viable. The first way and the preferable way is to gear fully haste, which shouldn't be too hard to do considering that you should be mainly gearing for haste anyway. But with everything scaling down to 463, if you have any gear that has more gem slots than your gear, so say for example this Iron Khan's sword I got, Khan's Flaming Scimitar, it's item level 530. But it has 2 gem sockets, so if I use that instead of the Zifeng Long Blade of the Titanic Guardian with only 1 gem slot, it will actually give me more haste and will serve me better in Proving Grounds than the higher level weapon. Same goes across all your gear. Even with the triple stats on the legendary cape, this 522 cape actually served me better from a haste perspective than the legendary cape. And similarly with the neck piece, I had a 536 neck. And recently got the flexible version of the Iron Juggernaut neck. But given that there's no gem slot on that, this Moonjade necklace served me better. So it's really a balancing act. Going into Proving Grounds, having a look at your gear, seeing which gives you more of the stats you're looking for, primarily haste. The other way to gear really in Proving Grounds is to go mastery heavy. And basically reduce as much damage when you do use Shield of the Righteous as possible. However, I tried going full stamina while I was learning the waves, and that massive drop in haste just made it feel very, very slow and clunky. So I went back to haste eventually, and once I had learned all the waves and picked up, memorized all the locations where the mobs were spawning from, I was then able to start making progress in the Proving Grounds. So talents wise and glyphs wise, talents wise is pretty much a standard talents loadout. The only thing I switched over was the final tier. I usually roll with Holy Prism when I'm raiding. However, Light's Hammer, as you'll see in the rundown of the waves later on, it comes in far, far handier. So I definitely advise Light's Hammer in conjunction with Holy Avenger. You do definitely need to be rolling with Eternal Flame, however. Sacred Shield, the absorb on it, just doesn't hold up against the damage you're going to get in there. The hut from Eternal Flame and the initial heal you get when you use it, it will save your ass more than once. As far as glyphs concerned, you do need the glyph very specifically for Proving Grounds. Really, there's only one free glyph slot in this, and it's not exactly the one you would think. Glyph of the Alabaster Shield, that's the one you can actually drop for Proving Grounds. Normally that's a must-have for raiding, but in Proving Grounds, this is one you can switch out if you need to. However, I went in and run with this, so it can be used. The two you absolutely need to run with, primarily is Glyph of Divine Protection. This will reduce 20% physical damage every 30 seconds or less. If you have the Vial of Living Corruption, as I do from Flex, will reduce the cooldown of your Divine Protection even further. Mine in Proving Grounds with this Flex version of the trinket was coming in just over 27 seconds. So with Vial of Living Corruption, Divine Protection will drop another 2.5 seconds. However, I didn't actually run with Vial of Living Corruption. What I actually went back to was Lao Chin's Liquid Courage. This is primarily because of the on-use effect of the extra mastery. In the Proving Grounds, it gives an extra 2,700-ish extra mastery, and using that in conjunction with Holy Avenger and Avenging Wrath means you can pretty much mitigate a ton of incoming damage, which will come in very useful, as you'll see later on when we go through the waves. And again, stamina on that gets dropped to 1270. The other glyph slot that you need to have filled is Blinding Light. The glyph of Blinding Light is the only method Prot Paladins have of getting a group AoE stun. Without this glyph, we would be f***ed, to put it bluntly. This glyph is the only way, like I said, we can get a group stun. Other than that, there are times, as you'll see in the waves later on, where there is no way to control a group of mobs. We just don't have that facility. Other tanks have a lot of AoE stuns on a far lower cooldown than we do. Glyph of Blinding Light is a 3-second stun on a 2-minute cooldown. Likes of DKs and Monks, they have group AoE stuns that they can use in every single wave, and their stuns last for upwards of 6 seconds. Druids have Mass Entanglement and Massive Slows, and Warriors have Shockwave and their AoE Fear ability, as well as Piercing Howl. So, as you can see, as far as utility wise, normally we're the biggest tanks for utility in a raid environment. However, in Proving Grounds, all that utility is for naught, by and large. So it is mandatory to use these two glyphs at the very least, Blinding Light and Divine Protection, if you want to save your ass on more than one occasion. So with the talents and glyphs and gearing sorted, let's go through the waves. I will go through waves 21 to 30, because as you're probably aware, the waves cycle round every 10 waves. So wave 1 is exactly the same as wave 11, as wave 21, 31, 41, 51, etc. Wave 6 is exactly the same as wave 16, 26, 36, 46, etc. So rather than go through the entire video, which is available, and you can see that on the channel, I'll just go through the final 10 waves and show you exactly what I did in order to survive. So wave 1 is 2 mobs, Windguard and Ripper. Your AoE should keep a hold on the Ripper, so just ignore it and concentrate on the Windguard. Sakari will by and large DPS down the Ripper, but like I said, your AoE from Hammer of the Righteous and Shield and your Consecration will keep a hold of it, so don't worry about losing aggro on it. Just continue burning down the Windguard. and it will eventually go down just prior to the second wave coming in. Just watch out for the knockbacks. You may occasionally lose aggro, but the vast majority of the time you will keep a solid hold of it when the knockback occurs. So just burn it down and be ready for wave 2 coming in. And it will come in on the marker to the left of the gate. So Lights Hammer, drop it, Consecration, Hammer Righteous, gather them all up. Once you've got a good hold of them all, pop your Avenging Wrath and Holy Avenger and just go to town. Put out as much AoE DPS as you can. Use everything. Every single proc of Grand Crusader, use it. Pick up the ambushers as they come in. There will be 2 of those. So one will come from the green marker there, and the other will come from to your right hand side here. So again, just put out as much AoE DPS as you can. Taunt the ambusher when it comes in, and continue burning. At the higher waves, you'll have to do as I did there, and use your Glyph of Blinding Light to stun the mobs and dash for it, basically. Because the bleed they apply, those wee foragers, it can get very, very painful at the higher levels. So over to blue, drop your Consecration, get ready for the next wave of mobs. What I did normally is pick up 1 Ripper from the far side, although I managed to botch that like a complete boss. Then concentrate on burning down the Flame Caller and use whatever interrupts you have just to stop it getting off any more fireballs. So stuns, Avenger's Shield, etc. will just interrupt it all the time. And then just continue burning down these 2 Rippers until the end. One thing I recently learned was that Avenger's Shield, the silence effect it produces, will only affect the first target it hits. It doesn't actually bounce the silence effect now to the additional targets it hits. So always have the Flame Caller targeted when you're using your Avenger's Shield on it to silence it. Otherwise it will hit it, but it won't silence it. Fourth wave incoming, so Windguard and a Conqueror. So these guys will do 2 things simultaneously or fairly close together. So dodge the initial slam, and when the Windguard goes to knock you back, stun it, and then pop Divine Protection to cope with the enrage from the Conqueror there. Pick up that ambusher as it comes in, and dodge that slam. And at this point, just burn down the ambusher. It will go down far, far quicker. Because going into the 5th wave, you only want to have 1 mob up if you can help it. And again, Blinding Light comes in handy on this wave, especially with that ambusher's Fan of Bananas. That Fan of Bananas will also apply a snare effect on you, which will come in potentially deadly in later waves, which you'll see later. So 5th wave, pick up the 2 Rippers, continue burning down whichever mob was left over from the 4th wave. Sakari by and large will again take care of that Flame Caller on her own, so just leave it alone. Pick up the ambushers when they spawn come in. There will be 4 of these altogether, so that's the second one. And just kite round the arena here. There's the 3rd ambusher in. If you can, try and get them into the fire because they go down a lot quicker in the flame pools. Especially if you want to get cleared up before the last ambusher comes in. What I would strongly advise is on this 5th wave, try and build up 5 stack of Bastion of Glory for use in the next wave, because you're going to need it. So 6th wave is going to be 3 Windguards, and Sakari will always target the middle one initially. So pop Holy Avenger, Avenging Wrath, and your Trinket, and just really burn as hard as you can on that middle Windguard. Just watch out for the knockbacks and the drops in aggro. And as you can see, I very nearly wiped there, because I taunted the wrong mob like a complete champ. So one wind guard should go down. Remember to use your Eternal Flame as well. Once that first wind guard goes down, the damage intake goes down significantly, but it still is a threat. So just watch your health levels. Use Divine Protection whenever you can. Stun one of the wind guards whenever, just to slightly knock off the damage intake. So wave 7 is incoming at red, and it is a Conqueror and 4 Foragers. So just continue burning down whatever mobs were left from the last wave. Get them out of the way, and just watch out for the Conqueror's slams. The Forager's bleed here should not really present much of a problem. So just remember to pop a cooldown for the Conqueror's Enrage, because especially at these higher levels, it will hurt when he hits you, whilst he's enraged. So just burn down whatever mob is lowest on health, which is ideally going to be that wind guard. Just polish it off. Remember to taunt it back when it knocks you back and drops aggro. And wave 8 will be incoming, and it will be a lone flame caller to start off with. So pick it up, let it get its lava off. Don't interrupt that, because you're going to need those fire pools. So pick it up, bring it over, try and dump it in the lava if you can, get a DPS down, and then start picking up ambushers. Trail them through the fire, again, because you're going to need all those down before the end of this wave, because the next wave is a bitch. So pick up the remainder of the ambushers, get them in fire pools as much as possible, burn them down. Don't taunt them before they actually get into the fire. Just make sure they have that lava debuff on them, because they do go down like a house of cards when they have that lava debuff. Champ. So make sure you get this last ambusher finished off before the next wave if you can, or as low as you possible, and get ready with all your cooldowns here. So drop Light's Hammer, pop your Avenging Wrath Holy Avenger and your Trinket, and target the first wind guard and just burn it as hard as you possibly can, because this wave is highly damaging. And it's also tricky because of the 2 wind guards. They will knock you back and drop aggro. So continue burning down one wind guard as hard as you can. Pick up the first ambusher that comes in. There's going to be 2 of those incoming in this wave. So continue burning as hard as you can. Blinding Light again comes in very handy on this wave to stun that and just get a bit of breathing room. Sakari's AoE DPS will finish off the smaller, lesser health mobs. Pick up the final ambusher and just burn them down, really. Once the wind guards go down, then it's pretty much plain sailing. So the final wave for the achievement is a large Conqueror and a large Flame Caller. So pick up the Conqueror, and your primary target here is the Flame Caller because of Pyroblast. So silence it on the first Pyroblast. Make sure it has the lava pools up, and just basically burn it down as much as you can. What I found useful on this last wave was when the Conqueror enrages, bubble and taunt it, because at this sort of level the enrage will just eat through Divine Protection completely. So as you can see here, I'm fairly much surviving by the skin of my teeth here, because I'm just so pro. So again, try and silence the Pyroblaster as much as you can, and interrupt every single cast of Pyroblast. So stuns, Avenger Shield, Rebuke. And that's wave 30. Once you get to this stage, the title's done. It's yours. You can continue on and burn down this final mob. And if all you are after is the title, you can at this stage quit. Go over to Master Roton there and select I yield, or just let these mobs burn you down. But after this stage, the title is yours. So congratulations, you are now a proven defender.